Yo, what's going on, y'all? It's your boy SoSo, and welcome back to the channel. Make sure you're hitting that like, comment, and subscribe button, and more importantly, turn on those notifications. That way you guys get notified when we drop hits like this. On this episode, we're previewing the Miami Hurricane season. They got a big game this Sunday against Notre Dame, and if we're talking Miami Hurricanes, you know we're bringing in the best in the business, and that's Victor Bermudez. It's time to take a ride, y'all. Let's go! Victor Bermudez in the building. We gotta give it up for this guy.
We gotta clap
That's
it up.
fam right here. This guy is extremely busy, but he always makes time for us, and we appreciate it so much, man.
Always. There's no, for family, you put schedules aside, you find the time, and it's Hurricanes 2025 football season, boys. So yeah, let's find the time. Let's make the time. Let's pack Hard Rock Stadium.
Yes.
It should be a fun one.
It's gonna be an orange out. It's gonna be an orange out on Sunday. It's gonna be great. Big game, right? Notre Dame coming in with a lot of hype. Preseason rankings. Like, there's a lot to look forward to this Hurricane season, and I kind of want to start there, right? Because this is the third year, I think. Excuse me. Third year under Cristobal. We start in the preseason. Fourth year straight, right? We start under Cristobal in the preseason rankings, which is obviously where you want to be as a program. This year we're ranked 10th. We haven't been inside the top 10 since what, 2019, 2018?
Since we went up to Dallas, took on Joe Burrow, and everybody got to see Joe Burrow for the first time. Not that he didn't go off on that game. It wasn't necessarily his game, but that was the coming of Joe Burrow.
Right.
He got on the map, and they did what they did the following year, and
that happened.
That's the last time we came into the season ranked top 10, and that he immediately went away. So let's see. Let's hope for a different outcome this year. We're at home,
Yep.
where the Miami Hurricanes have not lost a season opener since they moved to Hard Rock. Been quite a long time since they lost a season opener overall. It was to FSU. So let's defend home field as we did last year, going undefeated at home for the first time in a really long time. So yeah, looking forward to it. Everything's adding up, and it's year 4, as I said, Mario Cristobal year. You have your quarterback, you have your returning pieces. You lost a lot to the pros, but that's what good programs do, right?
Yeah.
Notre Dame is one that lost a lot to the pros. Georgia loses a lot to the pros on a yearly basis. So does Alabama. So the big time programs. And if we want to be big time, and if we want to be competing in January, you're going to lose some to the pros. It's just how you flip those and what you get to replace those that you lost. And I think Mario Cristobal is one of the best at it. We've seen that not just in recruiting. We know what he can do recruiting-wise, having one of the top classes in the nation again, bringing in guys like Malachi Tony, Joshua Moore, years past JoJo Trader. There's full trust in Mario Cristobal when it comes to recruiting and what he's done in the transfer portal, bringing guys in. We revamped that secondary, added some pieces even at the running back position. So yeah, full trust in Mario Cristobal when it comes to recruiting. And he still has his critics on game day, and those are a work in progress. But that's the full honest truth, and I think he understands it. And I think he knows that he's not afraid. What I love about Mario Cristobal is he's never afraid to make tough decisions. We've seen that in the last 2 years in the offseason. We've parted ways with defensive coordinators when needed. We've parted ways with offensive coordinators when needed, and we've kept the strong suits, the ones that get this program and get his mindset. So full trust in Mario Cristobal. We're in here for the long haul, and we're in here for a good amount of years with Mario. So in Mario, we trust him.
Let's start here, right? Because you mentioned additions, subtractions, and I think one of the biggest additions that this team is going to see this year has been the addition of the defensive coordinator, Corey Hellerman, coming from Minnesota, a program where he was able to put that school right in a top 10 defensive position nationally, right? You think, wow, we probably have more talent than Minnesota does. No disrespect to Minnesota, right? But being that this team is so talented because of his recruiting, and then you give a guy like Corey this type of defensive players.
Yeah.
I think that the leveling up is about to come. Is this something that most fans should look forward to?
I think the surprise this year is going to be the Miami defense. I think, if we're expecting what we had a year ago on offense, I hate to break it to you, but we've never had that before in the University of Miami. There was no Cam Ward prior to Cam Ward The bar was set at, I believe it was 28 touchdowns with Steve Walsh. And perfect example is what we have coming in, and I don't want to take away from the defense, but what we have coming in Carson Beck, and we'll get to the Carson Beck and the offense a little later. But 28 touchdowns would be, 2024 Carson Beck would be 28 touchdowns for Miami. That's third best all time in a single season. Only to Cam Ward and Walsh. The 3,500 yards that he threw for in 2024 would surpass Ken Dorsey. So we're talking about Carson Beck just needing to beat Carson Beck. But you're asked about the defense, and I think that's going to be the surprise because, yes, we were on the floor, and when you're blowing 21-point leads against Syracuse, there's only one way to go up, and that's up. So in my personal opinion, I think this is going to be a team that's going to rely on their defense heavily. It's not going to be as exciting or as the fireworks aren't going to be there as often as they were last year offensively. But I think you're going to be pleasantly surprised with how this defense is operated and how they're able to execute and how aggressive and nasty they're going to be. Because they're going to be an opportunistic defense. They're going to cause turnovers. And it's just what the offense does with those turnovers.
For sure, and the defensive pressure is going to be put on the offenses that we're facing by the guys that are used to it. Mesidor, Blunt, we were talking about earlier before we started recording. Of course, you got Ruben Bain Jr., right, who can obviously be a monster and be such a force on that defense. So you're going to see the defensive backs, right, even some of the guys that we brought into the portal, get those opportunities to shine, right? So we'll probably see the shining more often on defense than we will on offense. But since we're talking about offense, we mentioned Carson Beck. We know he's getting paid $4 million to come out here and pay quarterbacks.
Seems like everybody is nowadays, though.
Right? It's a thing that comes with expectation, right?
Yep.
And especially after a season like the guy that is on my shirt just put up, right? Cam Ward. Shout out to Stephen Empire. You know, a lot of expectations come with that. Carson Beck on paper looks like the guy that you want in your program, and you see him, and you're like, man, we're gonna go really far. Can he bring that level of football quarterback leadership to this program and make us, crack that stratosphere of where we want to see the Canes?
I love his swagger and I love his response to it. It's like, hey guys, I'm coming to replace a quarterback, and look, it's no knock on Cam Ward. You got number one overall, no knock on him and for what he did for us. Again, ton of excitement last year, 2024. But the truth is, it's what Carson Beck alludes to and what he mentions. Who am I replacing? A Pop-Tart Bowl quarterback. No disrespect to Cam Ward. I love Cam Ward, love what he did. Again, I can't put emphasis on that enough. But what are we really replacing? Because the real pressure was up in Athens, Georgia, when he was replacing a two-time defending national champ and a team that was coming off of SEC championship appearances. Again, we're talking about a Carson Beck that lost 3 games in his entire collegiate career at Georgia, going, I believe it was 28-3 or 24-3. Like, what pressure? What pressure? All he has to do, come here and be Carson Beck, who he has been. So, what pressure is he really facing? I understand. It was an exciting year for the fan base. But where did it get us? We lost 3 out of the last 4. Not by by Cam Ward's play. But again, I just don't understand the pressure. What pressure is there here at Miami? We have 2 10-win seasons in the last 2 decades. I don't think there's a lot of pressure. There's pressure in the SEC. There's pressure to win here, sure. But does it fall all on Carson Beck? I don't think so. I think Carson Beck comes here, and as I said previously, if Carson Beck is the Carson Beck of 2024, we're talking about an elite season at Miami, and we're saying, hey, we're in the ACC championship game for a second time since joining the ACC. I think we're celebrating our season. I think we're on the verge of another 10-win season. I just don't see the pressure. What pressure is there? We're not coming off. This isn't Notre Dame coming off a national championship appearance.
Right.
I just don't understand the pressure that comes with Carson Beck coming here.
I guess if I had to say, play the devil's advocate,
Sure.
which is usually what I'm on the show to do, is what pressure? There's a $4 million price tag on your head, brother. And the scrutiny, the public scrutiny, that if you don't perform at this historically, successful program, granted the last 20, 25 years have not necessarily been that, but we just had our most exciting season at the helm, let's be honest, of Cam Ward, because of the fact that our defense was so abysmal last season. It was the Cam show in the fourth quarter, making shit happen, and that's what people remember. Granted, we didn't have anything to show for it. The Pop-Tart Bowl you mentioned, he didn't even play the whole thing. He took himself out of it.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? So I understand what you're saying, but we just had the little bit of success that we've had in the last 20 years, in my opinion. It's probably the best season, most exciting season as a Canes fan, right? That you can say this is something that is worth watching. And now he has a $4 million price tag on his head to come and take over that spot. I would hope there's a little bit of pressure for him to come in and perform and say, I want to be the guy that actually did something that Cam Ward couldn't do, which is win a meaningful bowl game. And yeah, I know I got the $4 million, paycheck. That's another reason why I want to make sure and show up. Because what I don't want, guys, is I don't want Carson Beck to just come in and go, yeah, I got paid already, guys. You guys want me here regardless. So I'm just going to, do what I got to do. I've done this my whole life. I got the resume for it. But I got my money. I'm cool. I know I'm not going to really go on and do anything on the next level. So I'm just going to kind of ride this out.
I kind of agree with everything you just said except for that last part. I really think that he's coming in here with the mindset of like what Vic was alluding to earlier. I'm proven. Right? Like, I know what I can do. People know what my stats are. People know what I can accomplish. I just got to be in the right spot. And this is why I think I chose Miami, because it could be the right spot, right? And we've seen the little remnants of what Cam was able to do. And he's like, man, I could do that on the regular. Now, the only thing is, again, and this is where I think it falls in line, is the expectation of winning. Like, that's never going away from the Hurricane fan base. Like, whether it's rightly deserved or not, that's never going away, right? So people expect Beck, I'm assuming, right, that most of the fan base is expecting Beck to come in and just be that difference maker. Don't be the guy that has to throw 50 touchdowns, but you can be the guy that doesn't lose us the game as well, right? And make sure that we can drive, get first downs and stuff like that, which I think is what Cam kind of did. Just obviously the team wasn't as complete as it is right now.
Do you think, and this is for Vic, do you think that our O-line is much better situated this year for Beck than Cam had last year?
I think the fact that's a great question. I think the strongest, and obviously literally strongest group of this team is the offensive line, just because of their height and their size. So clearly they're the strongest. But yes, to your point, yes, because we saw Cam Ward sit back there, stand in the pocket, stand like a statue. Carson Beck loves to run the ball. Carson Beck loves to feel the pocket get a little tighter. He has the legs. He's more receptive to bailing out and taking off. And for the offensive line, they no longer have to hold for 8, 10, 12 seconds at a time. You saw Cam Ward back there, standing in the statue. We saw it with Virginia Tech. We saw it against numerous others. And we saw it against Cal. So yeah, I think the offensive line is going to be excited at the fact that we don't have to hold these guys, especially game 1 against Notre Dame, a good defensive line. We don't have to hold them as often. And I personally think, I don't have this on paper, I don't know the stats, but I personally think Carson Beck could possibly be faster than Cam Ward. It's just what I've seen. I've been at scrimmages, I've been at practice, I've seen how quick he is to get out of the pocket and how quick he is to use his legs as opposed to staying there and relying on his arm. I think something that doesn't get mentioned enough is this offensive line last year. For as much as we relied on the big plays from Cam Ward and we relied on that big arm, this offensive line showed that they were number 4 in the country in yards per carry. So when you did hand the ball off and you did decide to tuck and run, something that Carson Beck will do on his own, they're going to gain yards. The reason, look, you have Cam Ward back there, a generational talent, and something that we had never seen here. So how are you going to tell him, hey, the RPO, how about we hand the ball off? No, you let Cam Ward do what he wanted to do. Right. And I think this year, I strongly anticipate this to be, for game purposes, gaming and exciting, and everybody loves, chicks love the long ball, right. And we love to see it go deep. I think this is going to be a more conservative offense, and I don't think it's game managing by any stretch of the imagination. I just think this is the way it's built. I think Mario finally has the team that he envisioned, building it from the trenches, from the inside out, and I think this offensive line lends itself to exactly what Alex Mirabal had in mind. Guys, they've done this before. They have a top 10 offensive lineman a top 10 draft pick and not on that offensive line. Should go top 10. And Francis Mayo, he should get drafted. And this isn't the first time that we're going to see a Mario Cristobal offensive line have a top 10 selection in the draft. We saw it with the Detroit Lions. And again, this is the way they wanted to build it. So I do anticipate this offensive line having an easier time holding their blocks because they're not going to have to hold it for as long. I think Carson Beck is going to show you what he can do with his legs. And I think when You think he's going to run the ball or he should simply hand it off? He has the power to show you that he has a strong arm and can get it out there in a quick amount of time that they don't have to hold their blocks for as long as they did for Cam Ward. Obviously, Cam Ward, that was his style of playing. He wanted to hold it, and we proved the offensive line can hold it. We had 3 returning starters with a plethora of starts under their belt, of experience under the belt. You had a center from Tulsa who brings in 12 starts in Corey. So again, I feel extremely confident in this offensive line, and again, I can't stress this enough. I think it's the strongest, literally and figuratively, the strongest position group on this team, offensive line.
I mean, I told you last night while we were doing our draft, right? Like, I can't remember the last time Miami Hurricanes offensive line had this much size and speed. That combination.
And it's no knock to the previous staff. Rhett Lashley ran a quick, wanted to do 75 to 80 plays per game, so you need to have a fast offensive line. They need to be thin. And that works for SMU. That works for Rhett Lashley. That's not the way Mario Cristobal, it's not the way he was brought up. It's not what got him the 2 national titles at Miami. It's not what Oregon was based on. Like, it's a strong O-line, big guys, all over 6'4", all near over 300 pounds, and you see it in the recruiting. These guys are monsters, even at 18 years old. And when they come in here as freshmen, they're ready to play. And it's exciting to watch. It's old school smash mouth football, and that's what Mario was raised on.
My bad. But if you look at the success that the Hurricanes had, talking about the championship runs, offensive line was full of studs. Guys who played long careers in the NFL, guys who got drafted in the first round, ended up being Hall of Famers. And I think that's like what took the longest for Mario to build, right? Because it's hard to get guys down here, right, in this southeast region, to find those big boys, right, like in those country boys. It's harder to find those guys that are worth a damn. And Mario, took his time to find the right guys, and now it's gelling, right? Completely opposite of what we're seeing with the Dolphins, for instance, right? Where the offensive line is not necessarily gelled. You have pieces that may not fit. You look at this offensive line for the Hurricanes, and you're like, this is a starting set ready to go. Which brings me to my next point. We talked about Mark Fletcher Jr. last year, right? And how he was running with and behind Damian Martinez, right? They were a great 1-2 punch. Now he's the premier back. I don't want to say the only back, but he's the definite premier back in that backfield. What is it that we can expect from Fletcher this year behind such an offensive line that can create push, that can create holes? Are we going to see a leaning more towards a lean of the running game with Beck back there just because Fletcher is that nasty, or because we have a lot of guys behind him that could also run the rock?
I think it goes back to, and I don't mean to run around or get away from the question, but I think it goes back to your strength, and it's O-line. Yeah. So if you have an O-line and you got a back like Fletcher, and then you have a change of style in like Jordan Lau, then I think you stick to that. I think Fletcher is going to have way more opportunities, and he learned a lot from Damian Martinez playing behind him. And he had flashes last year, and he shown that, look, he faced a lot of adversity last year. That's one of the most likable guys, and dealt with a ton of adversity, losing his father mid-season. That takes a lot, man. That takes a lot out of the kid. He was always there, always with a smile on his face. I think he is conditioned enough and now ready for that lead role and that starting position. And then on top of that, you had guys like Brown and Pringle, who I love. That guy's a speedster. I like the change of pace, as I mentioned, in Jordan Lau and what he can do out of the backfield. He showed the speed last year at UCF and taking off in that 98-yard run that he had, which I believe is Miami Hurricane record from the line of scrimmage. So you have a good amount and a depth which we haven't had in a long time. We've struggled with injuries in the past. I like what they have, and again, I'm going to sound like a broken record. A lot of the reasons why you suffer injuries at the tailback position is a weak O-line, and they get hit often and right off the line of scrimmage. You're not going to have that. By the time that Mark Fletcher gets hit downfield, it should be 3 to 4, 5, maybe even 5, 6 yards downfield. Again, number 4 in the country in yards per carry. So let that sink in. This is going to be one of the groups that you look at and you say, man, it might not be as exciting and might not be the college football that you're used to, but ground and pound still works. And that's what Mario Cristobal and Alex Mirabal believe in. They like to run the rock. They like to run the football with numerous backs, and I think you have a good group that is going to be able to change the pace and punish defense.
I mean, if that O-line is as big and strong as you say you are, I'm expecting big things for the run game. Talking about Cristobal, how he was brought up, you know what I mean? That's like ground and pound football, right? Running up the gut and trying to open up the playbook so that way we can get Carson Beck to, really expose these guys when the RPOs, when he tucks that ball and runs and all that stuff, really make these guys honest. But I'm confident in Beck. You got me confident on Beck. You got me real confident about the O-line.
I know
really
it is.
looking forward to that. I feel pretty good about the running back room. I know historically we always have like a good running back committee, room, and Fletcher carrying the bulk of that. I don't know if he's going to be necessarily the sole one relied upon that. I think that we're going to see other guys maybe come out there. But my question to you is, with all of these things going on, okay, we lost a couple of guys downfield. We lost Xavier Restrepo. We lost Cam McCormick, the tight end, the big tight end.
Royal.
We lost a few guys. Who do we have out there that he can throw the ball to? In fact, that is.
I think you're going to be extremely surprised, and there's going to be a lot of other guys that get in. We have some transfers. I personally think, I've said this to everyone that I get a chance to speak to, I think you're going to be shocked at our freshman wide receiver play. I think we're talking about Amon Richards type freshman season shock. I think what you're getting in Malachi Tony out of American Heritage is phenomenal. I think obviously JoJo Trader, he's going to take a step up. What he was doing out of Chaminade, and obviously, as you mentioned, all the deep weapons that we had last year, all the explosive weapons we had on offense. So JoJo Trader fell by not the wayside, but we saw what he could do in the bowl game, capturing his first touchdown of the season. I like JoJo Trader as a sophomore. I like Malachi Tony. I mentioned to you as a freshman coming out of American Heritage. West Broward's Joshua Moore. West Broward's Joshua Moore. You're talking about a 6'3", 6'4" wide receiver. I have not seen him. Look, I don't pretend that I've been there at every single practice or every single scrimmage. I've been to a lot. I have spent a lot of time there. So if you want to put a
There's
minute,
no doubt about it, guys.
I do the research. I am around them. I am sold on Moore. I mean, sold on him. I have not seen him drop a pass. I have seen him tower over our defenders, and this is going to sound like I'm, here's the same old defense. No. Our defense is sick. Our defense is stacked. That's going to be, if you need me to pick a side of the ball that you're going to be most impressed by, I'm going to pick the defensive side. And I know what that sounds like, but Moore out of West Broward, I don't pretend to have known him coming out of high school. I've just done my research. I've spoken to the people that did watch him in high school. You don't watch a lot of. Does anybody watch a lot of West Broward high school football?
No.
I don't.
No.
But I'm telling you, from what I've seen, the first thing I asked was, who is that? Where's he from? And has he dropped a pass? Because I haven't seen him drop one all fall camp. Those are the guys that I'm looking to. Again, you have your other returning players and the guys that you're expecting to make some big plays. But if you're I was pleasantly surprised by what I saw. So that's what I'm sticking to. JoJo Trader, Malachi Tony, and more.
And I think that those guys will be able to find some success because when you're to tie it all together, right? You got a great offensive line that's going to have time to keep their quarterback upright. Carson Beck is obviously really good at reading defenses, knowing when to escape, when to go, even throwing on the run, right? Like that's a difficult skill. We see more quarterbacks have success in the NFL that can exhibit those traits. They're gonna find broken routes. You're gonna find guys taking off.
Not to cut you off, but Shannon Dawson was just on his weekly press conference previewing Notre Dame, and he said that this is one of the deepest groups we have. Mm-hmm. Expect to see a 5-man rotation at the wide receiver spot. Expect to see guys in and out, and you're gonna see the ball being. Don't be surprised if you have numerous guys, quite a few guys with at least 1 to 2 receptions per game because they're that deep at that position. It's a young position group. But expect big things from this wide receiver group moving forward. They lost a lot. I'm well aware of it, but I like what they brought in.
Let me ask you this, Vic, because I'm thinking right now, right? When we look back at, I don't want to say the glory days, right? But let's just look at the success that the Hurricanes had in the periods, right? When they were doing that, they had a ton of depth in the running back position, right? They had a ton of depth in the wide receiver position. The offensive line was full of giants, right? And then on defense, you just had all these different playmakers. Not superstars, playmakers. Guys who had nose for the ball, right? Now I look at this roster and how it's being construed, and I'm looking at it and I'm like, damn, we're pretty close to them. But I'm not in there like you are. On a scale of 1 to 10, 10 being like, yo, we're right fucking there, right? How close is this program right now, year 4 of Cristobal, year 5 of Cristobal, how close is this program being back to that level where there's nothing but killers in it, whether you're a fifth-year senior or an incoming freshman?
Look, I'm not going to sugarcoat anything and sit up here and say we're back. Like,
Nah.
I don't think we're back until you're undefeated at home. Check, they did that. I don't think you're back until you're able to hold leads. I don't think you're back until you're able to not have to make comebacks like you did last year against Virginia Tech, against Cal. I think you're back when you're consistently winning your conference and playing for a conference championship. And I think Mario Cristobal knows that. So I don't know how close we are, but I know we're a lot better and a lot closer than we were 4 years ago. I know we have a coach that understands what it's supposed to look like because he was a part of it, because he played it, because he was here when they won 2 national championships, because he was here as a graduate assistant. He knows what it's supposed to look like. He knows what it's supposed to feel like. He knows what the players are supposed to embody. So in that sense, I have full faith in the coaching staff. They've done it before. They've done it at other locations. But I think they would be the first one to tell you, no, we're not nowhere near being close, but we're a lot closer than we used to be. And he gets it. Notre Dame is going to have, the Notre Dame game on Sunday is going to have over 100 recruits, over 75 blue chippers. And he understands that. The fact that he gets the way this needs to be built. I know the transfer portal is big business. I know the college game has changed, but there's still a lot to be done in recruiting, and I think we have one of the best recruiters in the country, and he's proven because he's won the award before for best recruiter in the country.
So 1 through 10. What would you say?
You want a numerical number?
I want a number. It's not 10. It's not 10.
It's not 10.
We know it's not 10.
10.
It ain't 9. It ain't 8. Right? But if we're talking about like...
Yeah, so you give the number then, Doug.
Yeah.
I mean, you just took away 10.
I'm just saying, like, theoretically, if we're looking at where this program has gone, being a big critic, and you know that I'm a big critic of the Hurricanes, right? I'm a big critic of whenever they're not doing things. I would say that this program is closer to a 7 than in anything else that I've ever seen in other regimes with quarterback, with coaching eras. This is the closest we've been to the glory days.
Look, go ahead, Joe.
No, I was going to say that. Talking about what we've been talking about, seeing the Cristobal era, I think this is, like you said, this is finally like the final reveal for his guys. Because like the first year he came in and like he had a bunch of other guys that weren't his guys, and he was like, all right, you know what? We got a couple guys that we want to keep, but let's start digging in the trenches for the guys that we want and start building this up. And now this is probably the most complete in the Cristobal project that we're going to see. So there are big expectations, but I would agree. I think so far, the last 3 years, I would. Kind of mirror your sentiment. I think 6, 7 if we had to put it on that scale.
Like, there are some things that you want to forget, right? With Mario Cristobal, Middle Tennessee, Georgia Tech. I get it. Georgia Tech last year on the road, the Syracuse game. I totally understand that. There are also some things that Mario Cristobal has already accomplished that hadn't been done here in a long time. We mentioned earlier in the broadcast, we opened up the podcast talking about the 10-win season. Fellas, it's only the second time in the last 20 years.
Yeah.
There was a few coaches that came through here prior to Mario Cristobal
Couldn't sniff 10 wins.
and couldn't get to it. There's also some things that have been done. Beating Florida State, beating Florida, beating USF, being state champs. And he asked, line them up. Let's play UCF so we can sweep the entire state. Those are things that are starting to happen on the Mario Cristobal era that needs to be done in order for us to be at 10. In order for us, and the only way we get to 10, because we're from Miami, and we have 5 national champions, the only way you're back is if you're winning national champions, if you're consistently there.
Can we just start with winning the ACC again?
There you go. And it was in his hands. That's the thing. It was in their hands. You're down the stretch, and all you need to do, and this is going to sound like we're piling on, but all you need to do, but this is truth. Right? All you need to do is beat Wake Forest and Syracuse.
That's it.
2 basketball schools. Georgia Tech, for the most part, another basketball school. Chris Bosh went there. You just need to beat 2 out of the 3, and you're playing for a conference championship. It'll go their way.
Yeah. I think it's why we can say those things, right? Like, hey, you gotta win it, is because we see the consistency in the competitiveness, right? Before, this team wasn't as competitive. Now this team can compete.
They fight, man.
Right?
You gotta give them that. You gotta give them that.
And
There was no game, there was no loss, that they weren't fighting, clawing back in the fourth quarter. And I think that, look, my favorite quote of all time, you know this, is remember the times attitude reflects leadership. I think every player on that team reflects the leadership. And when you don't, it's how he said in year one, it's come pick up your kid season. And they ship him out. He has my trust. Obviously, you know, I sound like the homer. I'm the executive producer of the broadcast. I first and foremost, I was a Miami Hurricane fan before I was even involved with the program. So I'd be doing that regardless. But yeah, full trust in the program, full trust in the coaching staff, and it's from the top. It's from the president, from everyone. I mean, they're the ones that brought in Mario Cristobal. They're the ones that have handed over the keys. They're the ones that have opened up the checkbook. So there's nothing but trust for them. And until they show that they're untrustworthy, and I think they're yet to show that, because again, when we get upset at the offensive coaching, at the offensive coordinator, when we get upset at the defensive coordinators, when we get upset that, you know, the quarterback might not be ready, he goes and he makes those moves. When we complain about the secondary, when we complain about, you know, the DBs and the safeties, and he does make the right moves, right? He brings in the right guys. So, I think he's earned the benefit of the doubt year in and year out. And it sounds like an excuse, but
it's not.
The wins have only gone up.
It's not.
The wins have only gone up, right?
Yes.
When he takes a step back, then hey man, you're full of crap. Get this guy off the air. But until he continues to get better, because if what's from 10? So now what? If we take a step back and we don't win 10, then yeah, hey, next year or later on in the season, bring me on and hey, what's happening?
Right.
What's going on?
Right.
And then we have to spit the truth there, and we have to figure out and dive deep into it and see what went wrong. But if the wins keep going up, it seems like something's going right.
No, and look, again, I've been a big criticizer of the Cristobal program. You and I have gone back both on camera and off camera plenty of times, right? But it does lead me to believe that he's definitely got it to where he wants it to be right now, right? And we can tie this into Sunday, right, to kind of end the show on that. Sunday, ABC, 7:30, a top 25 matchup.
WQAM 104.3 on radio, just saying.
Make sure you're listening to the pregame.
Turn down the volume on the TV, turn up the radio.
And listen to the pregame. It's honestly the best pregame in sports. You want to talk about in-depth knowledge, stats, all types of quirky stuff. Everything is in that pregame. And it's because of this genius brain right here when it comes to Hurricanes. This Sunday, that's going to be Cristobal's second big game to open the season, where he says, F it, give me the best opponent that we can take. Give me the best opponent that we can take, because we're going to show them what Hurricane football is about.
Notre Dame was in the national championship this year. Runner-up. What an opening run.
And they lost it right there in the same place that they're coming back to.
Yes, with a different quarterback now, right?
Who has not passed the ball in any game.
Any game in college football, right?
Convicts versus the Catholics.
Yes. All these things surrounding this game.
What's your first?
I'm looking to this game and not looking at it like, damn, this is an opportunity for the Hurricanes to look bad on national television. On the contrary, I'm looking at this game like this is a great opportunity for the Hurricanes to make a statement.
Absolutely.
Am I wrong?
No.
Should the fans also feel like I feel about this Sunday?
You got to understand, is what we mentioned, and I've said it numerous times too. You got to remember who their head coach is, who he played against prior to joining the Big East.
Yeah.
How many times did they go to Notre Dame? How many times did they go to Penn State? How many times did they? He comes from those Miami Hurricanes that said anywhere, anytime, any place, and they would show up. And it didn't matter. And it didn't matter if it was at home. It didn't matter if it was on the road. They went in, and they took care of business, and in Miami Hurricane fashion. He understands. He gets it. He doesn't shy away from it. He wants the biggest teams. He wants the biggest games, and you got to respect that. And there's only Notre Dame. You know, if we're gonna get into the schedule, I think we have one of the easiest schedules in the country.
I was going to say it earlier, but I didn't want to bring it up to be too much of a homer. But
there's Notre Dame, but Notre Dame's coming off of a lot, and you mentioned a brand new quarterback. They lost their defensive coordinator, Al Golden, who we're extremely familiar with. They lost him to the Bengals. They lost a lot to the draft. So while it's Notre Dame, the runner-up champ, they're at home, where you went undefeated a year ago. They're at home. Miami's at home, where Notre Dame lost their national championship a year ago that we just brought up. I think this schedule favors Miami. I think you have the right games at home. I think you travel for the right games. You don't leave the state of Florida until November. You have Florida State on the road, but that's not until October. And talk about a Florida State team that won 2 games last year. That's not anytime you get to mention that
Don't
Florida
forget
State
that.
only won 2 games last year. Florida State only won 2 games last year. Anytime you get to mention the fact that Florida only won 2 games last year, you bring that up. So the fact that the schedule on paper, and let's play devil's advocate, how Joe likes to play it. You lose to Notre Dame, you lose to Florida, no impact on the ACC.
True.
You still had the clear path to the goal, which is to get to the ACC, play for a conference championship, find yourself in the playoff. I know that's the back way in. You don't want that. I truly understand that. But the original question was, Smart, he did it on the road last year against an SEC team in the Swamp. And if you look at anything on social media, Instagram, the Swamp is one of the craziest and loudest places to play and most hostile places to play in the SEC. And he went in there, and what did he do?
What?
He had our players talking to their recruits in the front row, telling them, make sure you choose the right school.
Don't come here.
He doesn't shy away from it, and if you know Mario Cristobal and his intensity,
that was game 1 last year too.
Yeah.
that was game one. That was game one. I'll say this: I was more worried about going into game 1 last year
No kidding.
in the SEC, in the Swamp, than I am going into game 1 facing the runner-up champ in Hard Rock Stadium under the lights on Sunday night.
You know what that means? Bet the house
That's
on
a
the
house,
Hurricanes.
dog.
Bet the house. Like my dog Jason says, fucking cash out. Bet the house, dog.
I'll give you a score prediction for this Sunday's game, dog.
Score prediction: I've said it all. Podcast. Rely on that defense. Rely on that defense. Rely on that defense. And I'm thinking 31-21, Miami over Notre Dame.
I like it.
Notre Dame will rely on their running back, Jordan Love, who is a phenomenal running back. I will challenge your audience. I will challenge you guys. Go look at Jeremiah Love's number and what he did last year. 5 games over 100 yards. One of those games was against Indiana, and his long was 98. He finished with 108. The other 4 games, look at the competition. Navy, what did he do against Ohio State, the defending champs? He ran for 3 yards, for a total of 3 yards. I'm not taking anything away from Love. Love is a phenomenal back, and their O-line is great. Miami's D-line faces a phenomenal O-line every single day under the hot humidity sun of Green Tree Practice Field. If I'm putting money on it, I'm betting on my Canes.
Let's go.
I may lose money,
baby.
but I'm betting the house on home.
Let's go,
Let's
baby.
go, baby.
Let's go.
Yo, I'm hyped.
Let's
I'm
do this.
hyped
Let's
right
do
now,
this. I
dog.
got 4 things for you real quick. Just
shoot.
quick fire. Final record for the Hurricanes this year.
Over 10 wins.
All right, so we'll say 11-win season. Awesome. Do they make the ACC championship?
Absolutely.
All right. What do they end the season rank as? Inside the top 25, inside the top 10?
Inside top 10.
Okay, last one. This one is going to be a little bit of a tough one. Who's this year's breakout player for the Hurricanes? I got to give them a tough one for the end, right?
Love this one.
Wesley Bissett.
Ooh.
Wesley Bissett.
Love that pick.
That dude has, and just because I'm trying to give you a name that maybe not,
Right.
I can pick certain guys on offense. That's a sexy thing to do. Anybody can say Carson Beck. We can go on the defensive side, say some of the transfers. Man, I like it. I like to keep home, man. Northwestern
that.
Bulls. Wesley looks different. That's just a simple way to put it. Wesley looks different. The body has transformed completely differently from what we saw a year ago. That man in the middle of the field, standing up, you're not going to be able to miss him. Wesley, I'm high on him going into the season, and I like the transformation. I like what we've seen from that athletic group, that training facility, and the way they transformed him. Really, really high on the former Northwestern Bulls.
I hope they turn him into a baby Ray Lewis Jr. God, for real, because the
That
kid
boy-
looks the part and he's nasty. And again, you mentioned it. He has a lot of familiarity with this program, where it needs to be, what's expected of him, how to be a leader. That's an excellent pick, man.
He's
That's an
tapped
excellent
into Ray Lewis. You brought up Ray Lewis. He's tapped into him. That they speak often. He's mentioned some advice that he's gotten from him, and that's part of being a Cane. That's a Canes thing, man, and what others don't understand.
Yeah, man, it's beautiful, man. Well, I think that's enough, dog. Because at the end of the day,
Whatever y'all boys need, man. As often as you need it, however much you need, man, I'm here.
But the reason why I say that, Vic, is because believe it or not, the fans have to go out and see this team, right? Like, it's not enough for us to talk about it. There's real substance here on this team,
and I think
it's worth
I
watching.
think the coaching staff has done their part. You know, they're close to a sellout when it comes to season tickets. I think fans are. It's not just the fact that you have Notre Dame at home, you have Florida at home, you have a decent schedule at home, but I think folks are excited. I think if you get a large group of people, they'll agree and admit to the fact that for as much as we want to complain and we want instant gratification, I think the public understands they're on their way, and the coaching staff is the right staff, and they're making the right moves, and they're giving you reason to believe. Yes, you open up against Notre Dame, and that's sexy, and that's going to bring folks out and families out, and yes, that's going to be enticing to buy season tickets. But I think it's the overall picture. I think you're starting to see, man, there's some special building down in Coral Gables, and every weekend they're going to take their show on the road to Hard Rock Stadium, go up north, and put on a show, and you're not going to leave dissatisfied.
Right.
I'm excited, man. I'm excited
It's gonna be a good
and
season.
I think
Us
the
too,
public
man.
recognizes that.
Yeah,
Yo,
us too, man.
thank you so much for coming on. I
Anytime.
really appreciate you
You guys are a
guys.
legend right here.
Follow Vic Bermudez on all
Victor
social
Bermudez.
media.
This is
At
fair,
Vic
man.
Bermudez on Twitter and
Yes.
on Instagram.
Yes.
At Vic Bermudez on Instagram, at Vic Bermudez on X, on Twitter, whatever you call it nowadays. At Vic Bermudez on anything you find, TikTok, whatever, any social media.
And make sure you're following this man. He's got the scoop.
And more importantly, every Hurricanes game, the pregame, make sure you're listening to it because this guy does a ton of work. His team is awesome, and obviously, we have historic guys that put on a great performance for us on the radio every single Hurricanes game. We appreciate you guys sticking with us. Give my man a follow, and you got to tell a friend,
To tell a friend.
to tell another friend,
Tell everybody they know.
to tell everybody they know about this amazing podcast because only we're bringing you in-depth analysis about the Miami Hurricanes like this. Till next time, y'all. Peace.
Okay. Let's go.